Hello, everyone. We are live yet again, and this is going to be one of my author chats of the week. And as I let this platform start notifying everybody who's out there, I'll also be keeping an eye out for my co-host. And as always, we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. And as far as kind of notifications about how this week's been going, actually, if people are in the Georgia area, particularly around Smyrna, Georgia, this Saturday I'll be at a book event called Book Flood, and I'll be going from 2 to 7, and it's one-day book fest over at the Viking Alchemist Meadery. So yes, I will be drinking mead and selling books, talking about books, and having a grand old time. So if you're doing anything fun this weekend, always let me know. And like I said, keep an eye out for my co-host. There we go, and send the invite. See if I can send it correctly. There we go. Hello?
Oh, hello.
I can hear you, can't see you. I know there's a way.
There we go.
Flip that around. You have to see. Like there's, I think it's like 3. Ha! Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Oh, there we go. Got the volume up. Okay, there we go. Figuring out this ancient iPad over here.
Hey, it's up and running, so that's a good thing. I mean, I'm horrible with technology, so sometimes the older the better, I feel like.
Yeah, my level of technology kind of peaked in 2009, and that was, I'm realizing, a little while ago, so I'm playing catch up.
It's okay. And I do see a question. No, I have not read the first chapter yet. I am actually about almost a year and a half behind everybody's books. So I'm answering a question in the comments. Saw another author friend of mine this past weekend, and he got me a signed copy of his book, and I was like, thank you so much. I will let you know how I like it in about a couple years. But that's the way it is for me. So welcome, and I don't know if you've ever listened in on any of my live chats before, but they're pretty conversational. If anybody, like what I was just doing, pops in the questions or comments in the chat, I try to make those known, because if this platform is nice, usually it is, sometimes it gets a little weird. I will share this on my YouTube channel at a later date and put all your author information down below that you have. So going from there, why don't you introduce yourself and what you write, and we'll go.
Well, yeah, hello, my name is J.P. Clark. I'm the author of 2 books in what I'm calling the Americana cycle. It's kind of a blending genre of horror and urban fantasy, kind of. It's partially nonsense, partially serious. It's described, I had one reviewer describe it as kind of like a Jack Burton-esque character who just goes about and gets himself involved in some really weird stuff. So yeah, the first book is a fun send up of like bad 80s B movies, taken a little kind of seriously, and the second one is a little bit more different and a little bit weird, but yeah, that's basically what I do. They're not for everybody, but if you happen to be within the audience that they are in, they're probably exactly what you're looking for. And if you're I just to humble brag a little bit also, I've also written 2 nonfiction books that are completely unreadable for just about anybody this century. They're 2 volumes, about 700 pages, where I spent 2 years watching unlabeled VHS tapes of TV programs that people recorded off of TV from about 1983 until about 2008. That I got in from garage sales and thrift stores and eBay, and I wrote everything down that I saw on those. And interesting to exactly nobody at all, but maybe some future historian out there in Brazil in the year 2300 will say, I can use this for my paper that I'm working on the short-lived American monoculture of the late 20th century. So yeah, that's me. Hi, I'm J.P. Clark.
So okay, now I have a lot of questions. First and foremost, what inspired your first book? You said it's the Americana series. So, what was it that inspired this book? Was it the fact that you like watching, as someone described it, these kind of '80s B movies, or what was it?
Yeah, basically the so kind of get into the time frame a little bit. I wrote the two nonfiction, the VHS ones first, and I was like, hey, I wrote two books, and I figured out how to do the self publishing gimmick on Amazon, and I like, hey, I got these two books. I'm an author, and then I was like, am I? Like, I wrote two books, but it's just a long list, So I was like, well, I should probably write something. And I had this idea going back. Remember in the early days of Facebook when they, when status updates were still a thing, and I used to put out the daily status updates of what I was doing, and it was always just this nonsense. And I came up with this one day of like, Elvis with a Warhammer 40K style chain sword. And I thought, I just had this image in my head, and that stuck in my head for about 20 years. And I thought, maybe I should build a book around that, that style of just absolute nonsense. And so, that's what it was. I work a job where I'm alone most of the time, either on the road or walking through the woods. So I talk to a lot of people, but I spend a lot of time alone. And as a result of that, I have a lot of time to think. So I was like, yeah, I should just put a book out and see about the process, because I tried to write a book in my 20s, and it was, on a Craigslist typewriter. With fueled by Skull and slow gin. So I'm glad that hard copy is permanently gone and never saw the light of day and never was seen by another living human being. Yeah, so that was basically it. I just wanted to do something that was fun, the type of horror movie, or the type of horror book that doesn't take itself too serious, that you start reading it and with the expectation of one genre, and then it just kind of starts to melt into another one. And that was kind of what inspired me to do the one, the first one. And the second one I took a lot more serious, and like, well, I should probably try with this one. And is it good? I don't know, but it was fun to write.
Hey, well, that's okay. If you're having fun, keep doing it. That's the thing. Like, if it's not fun, then why are you doing this writing process? Because there's a lot of things about writing, especially in the marketing side, that is a little that aren't as fun. But the writing itself, if you're enjoying it, that's great. Also, the fact that you're writing something that is a little bit ridiculous. I see a lot more books like that out there, and there are fandoms, there are readers out there. I mean, in Lit RPG, there's Dungeon Carl, and I've seen Galaxy Waffles and Sci-Fi, and you're talking about a little bit of this horror fusion. If the ridiculous kind of things that kind of offset maybe some of these serious notes, people are wanting that. So, how is the fact of you trying to find readers for your book been going?
It's okay. The first one, it came out in, I think, January 2024, I think, and it got about as many readers as I thought it would. I didn't make money off. Well, no, I did make money off of it. I didn't spend any money on it. That's the key. You don't spend any money on this stuff. It's the old Canon Films model. You don't, or the Asylum model for the people who are a little bit younger, who grew up on the Sci-Fi original pictures. Don't spend any money on this stuff, and put out something that is quality. I mean, don't just put a bunch of words into it and into a word processor and put them out there. Like, your reputation will get around pretty quick that you're putting actual garbage out. But if you're putting out something that is good, word of mouth helps. As far as like marketing goes, it's not a lot of fun, is it?
No, it's not.
It's probably the least rewarding thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know, talking to a lot of authors, you think being an author is writing books. Yes and no, because there's a lot more that goes on in order to like achieve whatever level of success you're trying to achieve. Now, some people, it's just writing a book and putting it out because that's all they want to do. And if no one reads it, they're okay with it. And there are others who want to make this a full-time career. So, there's definitely a level of workload that comes with that kind of mentality. But yeah, definitely word of mouth is something that's one of those people can't credit enough. So if you like a book and if you're just a reader, talk about it. That helps off the author out. Just talk about it. Talk about it to your friends. Mention it on, your socials, whatever. That helps a lot.
Yeah, and one thing I've kind of started to pick up on over the past several months, I've been spending more time on Reddit, and I haven't done a bunch, but I've started to do more and more short stories over there, and just putting those out there for free. Some I spend some time putting out, and other ones I view it as like, hey, I'm going to do a 30-minute challenge of like, can I get a 500 word, 600 word short story with a decent stinger on it? Can I get this out there in 30 minutes and put it out? And what's nice about that, you get immediate feedback, and as long as you don't get, banned from a subreddit or something, which is relatively easy to do, you can get a kind of a decent audience out of it. You can get a couple hundred to a couple thousand views on something, and you can get a little bit of traction. So some of the short stories I put out recently, they've got picked up by some smaller channels who reach out and, hey, can we narrate this for our channel on one of the tubes? And yeah, so it's like, man, that's cool, man. That's fantastic. So yeah, of course. So I think that one of the business models, I'm not a businessman. I'm an art, I don't want to say I'm an artist because I'm not, but my art is the art of a rattle can paint job on a derelict crummy. But as far as like getting your message out, getting your art out there, the more that you can do on the free side, on the giveaway side, I've gotten a few sales that way. I've turned doing short stories into actual book sales. Not many, but it's a way to get your word out there. And the nice thing about that too is that you're not doing marketing per se. You're actually having fun. You're doing the thing that you like to do. If you're a writer, you probably like to write. So you can write, and then you can use that as your own marketing thing. And you don't have to do editing or put a soundtrack on anything, which I've been trying to do on TikTok, and I don't think it's doing very well on that, but So yeah, there's other avenues to do. It's all about just exploring, see what makes you comfortable, and see what works.
Yeah, and I see in the comments, Derek was saying that he actually last night mentioned that he's an author to some people at a restaurant. Because here's the thing: if it comes up naturally in conversation, and you're social and comfortable, because there's definitely the hyper introverts that's not what they're going to do. If that works, great. You never know who's going to become a reader and a fan in the future. And then on your side, about the whole, stick with the free as long as possible and as much as possible, because it's free and that still can help you. And coming up with your short stories, I mean, there are a lot of authors, I know I'm one of them, that will do, I guess it's termed a reader's magnet for my newsletter, where it's like, hey, you want to sign up? So one, you keep in the know of everything that's going on with my work, but also I'm going to give you some free stuff. Here are a couple short stories. Here's my first chapters and my first in series. And again, you get a taste, a little sample of what I write. And if you like it, hopefully you'll buy books in the future.
Mm-hmm. And you can also compile those short stories into compilations too. And so there's plenty of ways that you can kind of get the last drops of water out of that wheel of cheese, so to speak. So yeah, there's plenty of options to do. And that's a nice thing. Word of mouth in person is a great, it's great because You don't need to be a real hard salesman, but just talking to people and just mention that you have a book. It's going to generate some interest until they find out what your book's about. Then they'll, at least with me, they generally walk away after that. But that's why I always stick close to the car.
Interesting niche. You do have an interesting niche, and again, when you write down to like super hyper niches, people are going to absolutely love it if it's for them, like you mentioned at the beginning. Or again, if it's not, that's okay too. I mean, there's going to be, I truly believe there's a book for everyone, but not every book is for every person. So you just have to figure out what's for you. And I'm sure you have tastes that you like to read certain things and not others. So it's par for the course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So let me know a little bit about your character or characters in your book series.
So I do POV. I do first person POV with just about everything I do. I grew up. A lot of my formative reading was through like hard-boiled detectives. So I read all of Chandler. I read probably at least half of the Rex Stout, Archie Goodwin, Nero Wolfe series. I don't think I had that much time to read all of them. I could have, I don't know. But those kind of old-timey detectives, and I don't think I ever quite broke out of that style. You can be so much more colorful with the language. And I'm a big proponent of slang and talking and, trying to use subgroups. So I like to do that. The main character, he's this kind of dopey guy, who's got a bit of a past. He's a middle-aged fat guy with a mullet and a bad mustache, and I didn't base him on myself. Just coincidence. Yeah. I'm a lot smarter than he is, though. I'll promise you that. And he just kind of gets put in these situations. And that's the first book is kind of this almost, it's not lighthearted. It's full of profanity and violence and all that sort of thing that why people like to read stories. But, at its core, it's like this lighthearted, like, whoa, this is all explosions and fun. And the second one, it's about a guy who gets in over his head. And in the second book, I really take that idea of like, this dude who got in over his head, now he has to deal with the consequences of that. And it's a very different book with the second one. It's a more mature tale of a guy dealing with and like, oh, I didn't know. I thought I just went off to fight this group of weird cult monsters. And it turns out I really screwed up because I didn't have enough information. And that's one of the main like themes I like to work with in my books and my short stories is people who don't have enough information to really make good decisions. So they make the best decision they can, which is generally the worst one. I like the idea of I like playing around with the idea of like half information and ignorance and the effects that has on people. So that's kind of it. And it's all wrapped up in this weird cosmic, almost Mormon themed monsters and stuff. And, so yeah, I try to be a little original with stuff. I'm like, one of the first drafts of the second one, I had a monster that had like these oil tentacles, and I'm like, everybody's doing tentacles nowadays. Can we think of something else? Gobs. How about we just say gobs? Yeah, we'll just go with that.
Yeah. No, I like when people focus and twist characters' perspectives, especially from book to book. And one of my YA series, I did that with the first book, kind of like you were mentioning, like she's put in a bunch of scenarios, she makes choices as best she can, or she thinks she's making the best she can, and then the books thereafter are a lot to do with the effects of what she chose in the first book, and good, bad, and the ugly, what that meant for everybody else. And it is nice to play with the character because you can insert a fair amount of character growth in a book. But if you have a whole series, you can have a for bigger span, as well as twists and turns and regression and all this kind of things that you can kind of play and help you tell the story, and also make your character that much more vibrant and relatable and real.
Yeah, and that's kind of the fun thing, that you can can take a story, and if you're working on themes, you can kind of play around with themes in just about any genre that you want. It just depends on how deep you want to get into it, and how much, if you can pull it off, and if you can pull it off. So yeah, I think that's that idea of characters changing over time, because characters are people. It's not like I go back to Nero Wolfe and Archie Goodwin. Those guys never changed. They over 80 books or some odd. It's always Nero Wolfe is always grumpy and doesn't want to leave the house, and Archie always gives him the business for it. And it's fun. I obviously like that sort of thing, but it's also it's kind of interesting when an author is saying, well, this is what I give to you, the reader, and then you like it, but now come along with me. We're going to go do something different with these characters that you may like and may not, and see if you like these decisions that I'm going to make with it. Yeah, it's a hoot.
So, are there any is there any side character from your first two books? And I don't know if you're currently working on any others in that series, but do you have any favorite side character that comes to mind? Ooh, this one's fun.
In the first one, there wasn't that many other characters that made it. I had a guy named Bishop, Raymond Bishop. He was a bishop, and his title was Bishop. His last name was Bishop, so he's Bishop. It was a little funny joke. Then I had a guy named. I knew a person whose last name is Glass, and he's a glass blower. So
yeah,
he's
glass by glass, legit. So I get you, Bishop.
Yeah, I knew a guy whose last name was Sergeant, and he was a rank of a private, so that was an awkward one every time he. Yeah, but I got another one. His name is Rathdrum, and he's you don't get to see him too much in the first one. He's not in the second one at all, but he shows up in a few of my short stories, and he's this kind of almost like this eldritch being. And the twist I did with this, he's like this eldritch being in the form of just a regular old looking cowboy guy. But I took the idea of what if we had this immortal dude who predated humanity, and he converted to Mormonism, but he's also not human. And so that kind of plays around with the idea of here's this guy that converted to a faith that promises eternal salvation, upon death, but he cannot die. So there's no possible way that he's going to be able to do that. So it kind of plays around with the idea of the three Nephites in Mormon cosmology or Mormon theology. It's not. I'm not Mormon, by the way. Just grew up with them, and I'm local to southern Idaho, so I grew up very interested in the church.
Yeah, comfortable and experienced, and
yeah, and I urge people when they're looking for some book to read, especially an American, some kind of American classic. You get the ones that always come up, Moby Dick, the Deerslayer, Last of the Mohicans. I always urge people read the Book of Mormon. It's a uniquely American. It's probably the most American of tales. It's the American version of Beowulf. It's the sagas. It's
interesting way to put it.
Yeah, it's the most American religion there is. It's completely New World. It was cooked up in New York, and it made its way from New York all the way over to the West Coast, or the Intermountain region over here. And, in that same period of time when you had all this, general religious fervor, and it's managed to survive this long, and it's you read it and it's like, wow, there's a lot of cool stuff going on in here. They have like space age submarines that travel through the Atlantic Ocean, and like these massive wars that completely eradicated like an entire civilization, and there was like one guy who survived for like 1,000 years to tell the tale. It's sword and sorcery at the end of the day. Like this is stuff that like, this is Conan the Barbarian stuff. This is Karl Edward Wagner stuff. Just check it out. It's if you're looking for inspiration for some kind of fantasy world, like you don't have to look that far. Like it's right there, and they're free at just about every thrift store, or you got to pay a couple bucks at the thrift store. Go to the Steak Center. They'll give them away to you. I promise.
Okay, wait, I lost my train of thought. My other thing is, for the series that you're working on, do you have any end vision of like how many books? Is it going to be just a duology? Do you want a trilogy? Are you going to write until you drop with the series? Like, do you have any idea at this point in time how many books will be in the series?
I don't. It's so weird the way my brain works, and I'm sure everybody says that, but it's frustrating to me. I can only, and I'd be interested to, because you have quite you got a whole backdrop full of like your work, and like, I can only be creative in the winter. Like as soon as the spring comes and the summer and the heat sets in, like my brain turns off. And I've tried for years. I tried all 2 years ago, over the course of the last 2 years, to try to write something. And anything that I managed to write was just dribble. And as soon as we, the pumpkin spice started being served at the stores, like it turns in, I can start thinking again, like, okay, I can start plotting stuff out.
You need a pumpkin spice candle in your house.
Yeah, probably. And I think it's also just a matter of like, I got to go out and water the lawn with a hose, and it's that sort of mindset. Yeah, versus like, I don't want to go outside. It's dark. I want to stay in and just do something else. So, yeah, I got another book in me. I've been kind of doodling around in my head for a little bit now. I'll let it kind of simmer up here. Maybe I'll get it out next year. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be kind of a true crime. Well, not true crime. Nothing's true about it. It's going to be fake crime. Kind of a crime tale that encompasses some Northwest legends, not really the Northwest, but it's close enough. Kind of that Intermountain region legends, Shoshone legends, creatures, and fuse them with real stuff like, drugs and stuff. So it's, yeah. And is there commentary in there? Yeah, there probably is, but I leave that up to the reader to determine what ultimately they'll be. So yeah, I'll probably have a book coming out next year, and it's just as far as like work output goes, it just depends if I have a story to tell, and if I think it's worth telling. I don't have a grand vision of where stuff's going. It's I'm probably selling myself short, but if I don't, who else will?
It sounds like you're a person that, you write when the mood hits you, and your mood can be a seasonal thing, and that's okay, because there are people who will sit down and try to force out a story. Now, maybe it works for them, but anytime I've tried to force out a story, it doesn't end well.
Yeah.
There's a reason for, maybe it's just not I'm not ready to approach that particular story, or maybe it's just not something that I really should be writing, but like, yeah, if you try to force something, it's harder. It becomes not fun. The way you're writing the story just may not jive or work. And so, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. And it's just, I tried to write a book for A while, from like spring of 2024 to last October, and I ended up getting these 37,000 words. I think I got into it, and I reread through them one day, and I was like, this is bad. This is embarrassing. Like I have a standard for myself. It's pretty low, but it's still a standard. And you just like, no, just get rid of it. Start something fresh, start new, and get a better idea. Because sometimes, it's good practice, but you don't want to put your name on that sort of thing. But like, when you have long running series, so how do you have it all like planned out in your head, like how many volume or how many sequels per se, or do you look at it as just one long tail, or do you necessarily look at it as like a sequel?
It all depends in the series. So my earlier works, I kind of already knew the end game, and I had a good approximation of how many books were going to be in those series. Now, the one I'm currently working on right now, I have a work in progress one that it's in one hand open-ended. I don't know how far I'll go with it, but I do know I'm going to have mini arcs within a greater series of trilogies. So I'm working on planning the first 3. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to stay in that world, probably with some of the characters, whoever survives, and then do maybe another trilogy branching off from there and there and there. One of the Legend of Drizzt is one example that did something similar to that. So I thought that was really fascinating. But that way, then I don't have to feel like I have to have a solid end game from the get-go. As long as I know how the trilogies end, if I make it through that, then I can decide, okay, am I ready to jump to the next one or not? But that allows me also that flexibility, keeping open-ended for as long as I want, if I want to. Yeah,
it's good. That's what's nice about establishing and creating a world that you can kind of play around in, and then you don't necessarily want to leave either. You just like I'm comfortable in this, so now that I'm kind of comfortable in this world, let's see what else I can do with this before we have to move on to some other place. Like, no, just stick around. You're here. Yeah. Use it, man.
Right. And there are definitely authors who every work they write is in their same original or whatever universe that they're known for, and they do that because 1, they know the world. They've already developed a lot of that infrastructure. 2, they know some of the characters, and then 3, they already have fans for that universe, which is great. And then there are people like me who jump around all the time. Each series is very different. It's just start from the over every time, reset. But at least it entertains me. Makes it harder too, but it entertains me.
Yeah, I think King's one of the more famous ones. That most of his work take place in the same like multiverse almost, and even the ones that are wildly different genres. So your Wizard and Glass, his kind of fantasy one. Yeah. So like these medieval fantasy tales take place in the same universe as like the old man who can't sleep, and then it's all has to do with this gunslinger fella who and Dark Towers and Crimson Kings and stuff. So it's kind of fun to plant those little Easter eggs too. And then if you have a big enough bibliography, that's not the right word, but I'll use it anyway because I can't think of the right one. If you have a big enough library that you have, it makes people like, oh, I'll go check this out. This is part of the same universe. I'll go check this out. King had it figured out. He got me reading a lot more of his work just based on like, oh, I'll check out this Insomnia. I want to see what this has to do with vampires and whatnot,
So with the one you were talking about, your other story you have in you, and you kind of have an idea of some of the lore that you want to kind of fuse and twist for your story. Is that potentially in the same universe as these first 2 full books?
Yeah, it is. It's in the same universe as that everybody in there is kind of these. I like characters. I like to deal with characters who are kind of like they're kind of sleazy, but in a safe way. Everybody's kind of like doesn't quite have enough money to get by, so they're doing odd jobs, or everybody's trying to scam each other. Professional wrestling is a big thing that kind of is a theme. The idea of kayfabe is, it shows up over and over again. So, the couple of the characters in there are this kung fu karate instructor guy and his helper, and the opening scene of the book's going to be this guy is getting beat up by, it's this intense action scene from the get-go, and it's this guy's getting beat up by two attackers, and then you realize, he's getting beat up by this is a full-grown man getting beat up by two 8-year-olds, and he's pretending to lose a fight to these two 8-year-olds, so then the dojo master can tell him, you did a very good job, you were only white belts, but your mom, she's not going to put you any further in the class until she doesn't want to sign the check over. So tell your mom how good you are, that you just beat up a 34-year-old black belt, and come back next week and we'll get you your blue belts or whatever. Just those types of scams. And then I don't know, I've been playing I don't know where this came from, but I I like the Music Man. It's the best musical there ever was. But if you watch have you ever seen the Music Man?
Yes, I have.
Okay, it's great. It's great. Professor Harold Hill is one of the finest characters in all of fiction. But if you look at it from like a different way, if you look at it from the traditional way, it's like, this guy he goes in and then he learns a valuable lesson, then he changes his ways, and the town takes him in. If you look at it from another perspective, this guy had a pretty good thing going. He would just travel from town to town. He'd make a few bucks and then he'd move on to the next town. And he could keep doing that forever. But then they catch him and then they're like, no, you're going to stay here. You're going to become one of us. We're clipping your wings. And you're going to just become a normal person like we are over here. And you're not going to be doing your scamming ways, which in turn would be emotionally devastating if you think about it. Like this guy's entire psyche would get rewired. Like, I can't do what I've been doing my entire life. I mean, it's kind of folk horror if you think about it. It's kind of like the Nicolas Cage, not the bees type of thing, just a little more family friendly. So I'm playing around with the idea of like this Harold Hill type who is stuck in some kind of, who's been around since the 1920s. And now he's just this almost like trickster god, and who managed to finally escape River City. And now he's out and about, and he's just doing whatever he wants to do because he's got a lot of lost time to make up for.
That's kind of neat. No, I think there is a huge demand for characters that they don't have to be likable. I mean, the morally gray thing is here and it's going to stay, and that's okay. And so having a character that lists and might not be full on evil, so to speak, but still do shady things and still make, not, as we agree, great choices, but yet take you on a journey for whatever that journey is as a reader. And by the end of it, you find some satisfaction. Maybe the character changes. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But, there is a demand for that.
Yeah, and that was what I did with my second one. I made the narrator almost like, a secondary character. So he teams up with this very weird federal agent who's kind of the driving force, almost like the protagonist through the whole thing. And this federal agent in my second book is a absolutely evil person. I mean, like if you were to roll D&D stuff, it would be this person is a lawful evil person, and like. And that's kind of like, doesn't really have a redemption arc either. Like, this person just started evil, and then you find out more and you just find out, you're just evil because you're weird. And you never really get your comeuppance. And I kind of like that 1970s style of movie where, like, oh, just, yeah, a bunch of stuff happens and then nobody changes. It just sucks and it's worse. I kind of like that like we're in, yeah,
It was grimdark kind of thing. Where
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you thought it was going to have a happy ending. It did not.
No, and then it's kind of, yeah, the grim in the grim darkness of the present. There is only apathy. Warhammer 2K.
And that's the thing is, like, I think, I've read books where I've been very entertained with the story and finding in the character, even though, as you said, not all characters change. So the entertaining thing and what the reader gets out of the character is not change, but it's backstory. You're still learning more about the character, but it's not an evolution forward. It's more of why they are what they are as you're going through the story. And then at the end, the way probably they were at the beginning, you just know more about him, and that kind of may change, how you connect with that character.
Yeah, and the effects that has on other characters too. Like if you have an evil character who's going around doing evil things for maybe good reasons, maybe not. It's hard to say, but how they interact with good characters, if they're on the same page, one of those people is going to change, and it's probably, it's probably going to tarnish more than it's going to clean. So that's kind of an interesting thing to explore also. Bad characters are interesting, and
like your villains and anti-heroes and antagonists and everything in between.
Yeah, my favorite book of all time. I keep it somewhere in here. Yeah. Gene Wolfe, Shadow of the Torture. I mean, I'm not smart enough to understand like a third of this book, but you can read through this and you can understand like, this Severian guy, he kind of sucks. He's a real weirdo, but he also really sucks. And he will tell you he sucks, but it takes a little bit of understanding to like, oh, this guy's, there's some more weird stuff going on with this guy than not. And that's what makes him so interesting. That's why you want to reread these books. That's why you want to revisit these characters to try to like understand like, what is this character and what's the author trying to do by doing it the way. Otherwise the more complex you can make a character, that's kind of what sets it apart from, just straight genre. You get the Matt Bolan and the Destroyer, Nick Carter, those guys who, they're basically just the cardboard people who go about and, do pew-pews and stop plots and stuff. But, you read one book and then it's like, okay, I'll read another one. It's basically the same thing. Oh, they're in Vietnam this time,
It's just like the same and the same and the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of, I was going to talk about James Bond. I'm not a big fan of James Bond, but that I think that's the Daniel Craig James Bonds are, I think, more interesting than the Sean Connery James Bonds.
Grittier and a little more concurrent with like his vibe, but yeah, definitely grittier, more complex than the original, which was the show pony.
Yeah. I'll have the James Bond stands cover the I'll have the Sean Connery stands after me before too long. I'll be watching my door now.
hey, I love James Bond, but there's valid arguments about that. Like the latest one was meant to be, hit a different type of audience. We've, as a society, moved to a little more of a grittier content. Not all of us now. You can see with the cozy side of writing, everything's bouncing back to the lighter stuff. But like for a while, we were doing more the grittier stuff. We were moving away from, the flashy kind of kung pao superheroes and went to like the Dark Knight. And, we were moving in a way. Now I can kind of see this counter where people kind of want a little bit of little happiness and some chuckles and all that kind of stuff, because there's enough other things that are depressing in the world.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I'm kind of curious. We're not quite through the decade to figure out, like, what was this decade about? We aren't through it yet, but you look back through like horror and stuff, and you get the 2000s. We had all the anxiety going from the war, and we had it going through the financial crisis, and we get the zombies were the big thing, and then I'm kind of curious what we'll get out of how artists will react to the times we've been living in since, from COVID to the 2030-ish, whenever this decade ends culturally, So yeah, it's always fun to look back as like through a historian's context. And the sad part is you can't do it when you're living through it. So just got to live longer, go for a walk and stuff.
Hey, well, I can say, at least based on the earlier side of this decade, a lot of that horror was based on viral and fungal and all those kind of things that could get based on what was happening outside of the war.
Yeah.
That was inspired so many things, The Last of Us and things like that. So.
Yeah, a lot of it. You reminded me now, because I don't watch a lot of new stuff, and that's partially because I'm lazy. But I did see. I was watching this. I think it's a movie called High Desert Horror, which appealed to me because I live in the high desert. And it's this really ultra low budget movie that was made in like northern Nevada, but it was made during the pandemic. And so you have people who are in it, but everything's done by, it's a found footage, guy gets lost hiking in the desert of Nevada. But all the interviews of people are done on Zoom, and you see the guy, the action shots of him. It's just him with a camera, and it's a very lonely movie. You can skip ahead. It's like an hour and a half. Skip ahead to like an hour and 25, and you'll see where the monster is. It's like,
People like The Road, but that's what it felt for me. It was like, man, this is a lonely and long movie.
Yeah. So I bet you, I kind of wonder, like we had that period with the pandemic of this really kind of isolated stuff, and will that kind of boomerang back in the latter half of the decade to everything kind of a come together type of thing? I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see. And again, hindsight's 2020, so we won't know until then how this, as you said, decade will be defined. But in literature and cinema and everything, and it'll definitely be an interesting thing to know. But since I just looked up, and since the hour is going to start speeding by, it's always that last quarter, and it goes away in a blink. There are definitely some questions I always like to ask. And again, just to make sure I cover them, and one of which is, where can people get your books? Are they exclusive through Amazon? Do you sell them direct? Are they widely available? Where can people get your books?
Yeah, they're on the River site, and that's probably your best bet. You can also, I sell them on the Electronic Bay. Just search for them. That's if you want author copies. So just find my name on there, and you can also buy whatever else I got for sale, whatever junk I got laying around. Maybe I'll even throw in a couple of used VHS tapes for you, and if you buy them. If you see me bombing around town, just see an old bombed out police car, just knock on my window and say, "Hey, I hear you got books," and I'll say, "Man, I got books. Come on over, pull over here. We'll talk." Yeah, so I sell them out of the trunk of my car. I don't have a website or anything fancy. I should. If you want my short stories, I'm on Reddit. VHS Sold Blank, I think, is my name over there. Really good branding on my part. Make every name different that I'm at. But
again, hindsight 2020. Period. Like across the board.
Yeah. I just hope the Gagney estate never. Vern Gagney. My name is not Vern Gagney. I'm in no way associated with the deceased professional wrestler and manager. I just thought the name was cool, so that's my username on here, the Ghost of Vern Gagney. I don't know why. I made my YouTube channel that because I was watching an AWA match at the time. So, yeah. That's some advice for aspiring authors and creatives out there. Try to brand everything the same name.
Hey, I made every mistake the first time, and including the fact that when I jumped on FB originally, I created a page and I named it after my series title, the series I was working on, my debut series. But then I started, I finished it up and I started working on my next series, and I was like, how are people gonna find that? And so I had to totally start over again from scratch and brand it with my author name, because I was like, no, for all my books, they can go to my author name versus trying to find a million different things. And I was just like, no. Made the mistake. Brand with your author name, whatever that may be.
That's very good advice.
Again, looking back at things. But, okay, great. Also, what format or formats are your books available in? Paperback, hardcover, audio, ebook? So what are they available in?
Yeah, paperback and ebook. Paperback and ebook. Those are your best ones. One day, if I ever have time, I will pursue the idea of audiobook, but it's just not something I'm willing to sink money into. And I'm one of those. Yeah, and I'm also one of those people, one of those do it yourself types. I do my own cover art. I'm not an artist, but I do my own cover art because I fool myself into thinking I can. So I fool myself into thinking, I can just narrate it. It's not that hard. I've tried it. If you don't think voice work is hard work, go ahead and try to read something. It will be a couple pages, and you'll be so tired of making mistakes, and you'll be hearing the clicker sound of all the various spots where I'm gonna have to edit that out. I'm gonna have to edit that out, and no, it's not a lot of fun. That's why I have a lot of respect for professional voice actors, and whatever they're charging, it's probably worth it. It's probably worth it compared to trying to read it yourself,
I mean, there are some authors that know that scene and they can do it themselves because they have some background or experience, or they've taken the long route and trained in order to do this, and it's not something you can do overnight. But yes, overall, I pay narrators because I respect the craft, and I also know, I'm not good with technology. The idea of editing that terrifies me. Also, all the characters would sound like this. There is no. It's not gonna be. So I'm not that skilled. So again, finding people who are talented in that, I say it every time I have a chance. It's just, man, kudos. I applaud you, and thank you.
Yeah, I'll say this. And speaking of authors doing it, the Secret History by Donna Tartt. She does her own narration, and it is fantastic. Really, really good job. If you can find that audiobook, it's on Audible. It's oh wow, this is really good. Look up, then for the opposite perspective, find Neuromancer on YouTube. There's a YouTube out there. William Gibson reads it himself. Whew, that guy should stick to writing. Really good writer. I don't know about the other stuff though, man.
As you mentioned, there are a few little loopholes and things that can, help cut the cost down, but creating an audiobook is expensive. I mean, putting a book out there in general can be expensive, and, there's ways to kind of do certain things yourself if you're able to, and you can learn and train and figure it out. But, the price can get very pricey, and this audiobooks are part of that. It's that can be very, very expensive, but a good audiobook is something beautiful.
It is. Oh, it is. I will always go back to my two favorite audiobooks of all time. It's Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation, the Southern Reach trilogy. There's three narrators that do it. One of them's Bulky from Perfect Strangers, of all things. Then there's two female narrators that I can't remember their names, but I mean that whole cast is so good in doing that. The stuff they do with his words, it's truly just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You still don't have a single idea what's going on with that plot because it is crazy and wackadoo and out there, but it is just it is an experience to listen to that audiobook. And then the Michael McDowell, forget what his last name is, Blackwater Saga. Kind of a Southern Gothic tale, and the guy who does it does an amazing job. And you are with that guy for 30 hours of an audiobook, and you never want to leave that world that he's narrating. He does such a good job. So, and those are good books to begin with, but if you can find a good narrator, it's just going to transform your work. It's only going to help your work. It's one of the best investments that a writer can make, I think, besides like an editor and a word processor and a cover artist, all that stuff. Besides everything else that is a good investment, it's also another good investment.
Oh yeah. I 100% agree with that. One of the other things I always like to ask is, outside of Book Talk, are you anywhere else that people can find you? You mentioned Reddit before and YouTube. Are you on any other platforms or just those three?
I think just those three. My YouTube page is absolute nonsense. It's just stuff I found over the past 10 years of digging through old VHS tapes. So if you want to see clips of what New York looked like on a home video from like 1987, I mean, that's what it is. It's like, oh, here's an air show that somebody attended in New Jersey in like 1992, or here's a lost episode, not even a lost episode. Just weird stuff like that. Don't bother going there. Who cares about YouTube? We're on TikTok. My TikTok is here, obviously. And then, Reddit, VHS sold blank. There's underscores in there, I think. That's probably the best spot if you want to like read more of my writing that's out there for free. Some of it's good, even. Some of it's not, but I would say that some of it's like, hey, this is actually, you seem to know what you're doing, huh, kid? I'm like, yeah, no, kind of. I don't know. We'll see.
It's one of those practice makes perfect. And so there are a lot of people who write lots of books, and they're never going to see the light of day because that's their practice. There are a lot of people who do short stories, a little bit like you're doing, and it helps you develop your craft. And I will acknowledge short stories writing is different than a full-length novel. I know that. But I'm saying anything you're working on is helping you advance. And so, that is pretty neat.
And also if you're writing a book, you can use short stories to kind of, if you're not quite sure where you want to go with the character or how you want to set up a scene. Like before I started writing the second book, I wrote a short story that took place during the events of the book, but from another character's perspective, and used the two main characters as like he encounters them. And just to kind of play around with like, okay, how are these characters going to interact, and what kind of world are we want to establish? And then I also did another short story with one of the characters from the book, like getting inside this person's head, just to like, okay, how do they view the world that the narrator isn't seeing? And it just gives you a little bit of freedom, and then you're not stuck on doing all this stuff. You're not tied to a full length book, and it also it stirs the creativity in that you're kind of, there are confines that you're having to work within to do that. You don't have, you can't be getting diarrhea of the word processor, as Stephen King would say. You have 3,000 words to convey whatever story you're trying to tell. And that's why I really like the short stories. I don't like, honestly, I don't like reading short stories that much. Like if I'm going to sit down and try to read something, I want to spend some time with some characters, but, it's also, it's a great way for exposure, because there's going to be people who are just randomly scrolling through, and if you can hook their attention, you might be able to hook a fan. And that's all what marketing is. Just putting your lines out there, man, just hoping to find a mark.
Yeah. And I also also saw something that I thought was a really neat thing, where an author offered. It was part of the special edition version, but in general, this sounds like a cool, fun way to challenge yourself if you're stuck. Is pick a chapter and then write that very chapter from the POV of a different character in that scene, and just that whole different perspective of all the happenings and going on in that same more or less chapter, just from a different person's perspective. And I thought that was really neat, since it can change things dramatically. Plus, it's just an interesting little challenge to do.
Yeah. Didn't Stephanie Meyer do that with Twilight and Midnight Sun? I think she rewrote the entire trilogy, or however many there are, from the perspective of Edward. And
Didn't read that one.
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to read it, but that's cool. I mean, heck yeah, you can sell more books that way, and you could get to also, explore more. I mean, that's cool. Team Jacob, by the way, but whatever.
Well, since the hour's right at the end, but I forgot to ask this, so I do want to give that chance. Is there any topic you wanted to cover that we haven't gotten a chance to cover, or any question that you wanted to ask that you hadn't had a chance to ask? Because I want to make sure we cover it all before we say goodnight.
No, I really appreciate what you do. I mean, I've been going through your back catalog on your channel on the YouTubes, and good Lord, you got like 180 some odd of these. It's incredible, and it's awesome. Just having something to listen to. I like I say, I spend a lot of time driving, so it's nice to just have a format of people talking, especially about stuff that I'm interested in, and being able to listen to other authors is just it's fascinating. So yeah, that's it. These are my friends, Mantis Watch. They're a band out of California. You find them on YouTube. They're a fantastic group. Derivative pop punk from the year 2384. They're here to prevent a deadly alien invasion. So yeah, they're Mantis Watch. Go give them a spin.
I love that. And it's always fun to promote other people who are creative and artistic and, talented in music and everything. So fantastic for that. But thank you so much for hanging out with me this hour. It's been such a fun time to get to know you and what you write, and just a little behind the scenes, because I've been following your posts for a little while now, and it's just interesting to finally get to see you face to face. And
I think this is the first time my face has been on TikTok, actually.
I was like, you're the non-face on here, which is totally fine. But it's nice to see that there is a face behind the posts. But I hope you have a lovely, lovely night, and I'll definitely keep in touch and let you know when I'm able to share this, and put your information down below for people to continue to find your work going forward.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, this has been a hoot.
Yay! And have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thanks.
Bye.
You too. Bye.